Very good evening, everyone. I welcome all of you all for the panel discussion. Thank you so much for taking out time and attending this session. Currently, I can see 53 participants, and this number is going to increase in some time. So before we start, let us start with some digital animations. So I have one very short video to be shown. So that was a quick glance at what we have planned today, which is a panel discussion with the most amazing panel with a diversified knowledge in their own field. So firstly, let me begin with the thank note to all the participants, saying, it's very important for any discussion, whether it is online or offline, that the participants are the most important member in these kind of panel discussion. So I would like to thank every participant for joining us today to attend the panel discussion on the most important topic, which is future of sales in a digital world. Now, most of you would be wondering why this topic, why future of sales in a digital world? Because this world is gonna be very different in the current scenario. It has changed so much that the world will be known as pre-COVID and post-COVID world. Like when the internet revolution happened in India, we say post-geo and pre-geo. Similarly, we talk about pre-COVID and post-COVID. Many things around us has changed, and this knowledge series, if you're trending this particular session, if you're going on social media and you're talking about us on social media about the panel discussion that you're attending, then don't forget to use the hashtag knowledge series. And why hashtag knowledge series? I think most of the participants are aware that it helps you find out who all are my fellow participants. You can search them by using similar hashtags. So hashtag knowledge series. This knowledge series is a part of our bigger theme, which is industry and careers. We all are trying to find out the career that we want to make. Some of us are in the established career, but we want to see the future of that career. So that is the reason why we selected this topic, future of sales in a digital world. Now, if I ask all my participants just to close your eyes, what we have seen in the last 4 or 5 months from March 20 onwards, everything has been so different. And just imagine if there would have been no internet and we had pandemic. I think most of you all will agree that we would have lost our job totally if digital transformation would not have happened, if companies would not have invested in the right technology at the right time. All the universities, they went for the online platform and kept the education going. This knowledge series is a continuous series that we have always been part of, and this has never stopped. We have never stopped, even during the before COVID and post COVID as well, and during the time when the businesses are trying to shape up itself. Now, today what is happening, businesses are at a crossroad on their journey to recover from COVID-19. So we are in the midway. So we are expecting, when will January 2021 will start? Definitely businesses are happening in a VUCA environment where we talk about, the uncertainty, the complexity, the ambiguity that remains in the future environment. And budgets are tight for companies. Still, the companies are investing heavily on digital technologies. And but sizable investments are being made even during the time when the companies are looking to cut down their cost, but not at the cost of digital upgradation. So they continue to face complex challenges associated with remote workforce. So we are working remotely. Just imagine those companies who have never thought about going in a remote. I mean, they would have never allowed their employees to work from home. Now they have to sit back and rework on their strategy. Yes, that we have to make them work from home. Shifting this business model to overcome supply chain disruption that has happened. Most of the supplies got disrupted in the first few weeks after the March, or embracing a new digital platform for the first time. Most of us have never thought about teaching online. Some of us have never thought about going for an online consulting with a doctor for the fever that we have. And not only there, even the sales transformation has happened. The companies has to keep the balance sheet moving, and that can move only when my sales are moving. And this sales needs some kind of a support from the technology organizations, or the technology enablers are required. So I would wait for my panelists who are going to share their tremendous knowledge that they have with all of you all. So let me introduce each of the speaker. As I introduce the first speaker who comes from PayU, and yes, he is Shubham Tandon. Shubham is a sales leader with more than a decade of experience now, and he's worked across banking, telecom, e-commerce, and in the fintech environment or fintech businesses. He had successful stints with companies like Flipkart, Mastercard. I think most of us have gone on Flipkart and have purchased something on Flipkart. Outside of work, he's also an avid traveler. He firmly believes in giving back to the society. So he's the kind of a person whom you will find that you will see during his free time, he's supporting some of the other NGO. So let us all welcome Shubham Tandon. So welcome to the discussion, Shubham. It's
Thank you,
nice to
sir.
have
Thank you for the
you
kind
as
words.
one of the most esteemed speaker for our for the evening today.
Thank
Then
you.
we have the next one. Again, I mean, as I introduce each speaker, they all are coming with their own share of experience. So Satyendra Pandey, who comes from Randstad, working with India's largest HR service provider, and with presence in almost with 38 countries. So we have someone who's coming from PayU, where you are trying to make some transaction and making our online journey a little bit easier. And then we have someone who can provide us job, and who can, who's handling this whole transaction during this time when the whole HR has got affected. So let me welcome Satyendra Pandey, who is leading sales and trade marketing for the BFSI vertical in Randstad. So, Satendra, welcome to the discussion. I think you have to unmute
Yeah,
yourself when you talk. Okay.
yeah. Thank you so much. And I'm really excited with such a wonderful panel on board for such a discussion, and which is like a very relevant topic. If I say future sales in a digital world, so I'm really excited and look forward for the discussion. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. So then let me introduce my third panelist today, Rajiv Ranjan, who comes from DFM Foods. He carries 17 years of experience in FMCG industry. So when we talk about FMCG, our life is revolving around whole FMCG product. I mean, we would have just used some FMCG product 15 minutes before. That's how our life is surrounded with these products. He also has worked with companies like Pidilite, which is known for Fevicol, yeah, and Godrej Consumer Limited, Dabur India. So it will be very exciting to hear from him about all the experiences in the FMCG industry. Welcome, Rajiv. It's really nice to have you as one of
Hi,
the
hi.
and
Yeah, pleasure.
panelist for today is Varun, and he is handling strategic sales and marketing with 13 years of cross-cultural experience in various channel management and film distribution. What we see is which we watch movies, but in the present day there is online platforms. Yeah, so how things have changed in last few years, it will be nice to hear. I think my participant will have a lot of questions from Netflix also with you. Should they Netflix and chill, or should they wait for some changes that is happening in the society right now, or in the overall streaming of platform? and also work with Videocon, Lava, and Bharti Airtel, all known brands. Thank you, Varun, for joining us.
Thanks a lot.
It's really nice to
Look
have
forward
the
for this discussion. It's
most.
a most relevant topic in this pandemic, and we're honored. Thank you.
Okay, so let us get started now. Without taking any time, I would be doing very less talking after this. Let my panel member share their views. So let us begin. I have planned this whole discussion today around three areas. My first area is more about the consumer behavior. Whenever something happens in the world, first thing that happens is the behavior of customer changes big time. Like for example, when I was in pandemic and I had a little bit of fever, I was fearing that I should not go to the hospital, but I should go online and I should take the doctor's consultation on Practo. So that is the change that as at personal level I have felt, and in your industry definitely you would have seen even more changes. So my first question is to Varun, and this question is about how consumer shift have happened in your sector over the past 24 months. And I think the participants would be want to listen to you because they have spent a lot of time watching the online streaming. So Varun, it's all over to you.
Yeah. So just to introduce, I handle the device business, which recently has been launched by Shimaru. There are a lot of verticals in Shimaru, which deals with OTT, YouTube, and digital syndication with Vodafone, Airtel. A lot of stuff we do. We recently launched two TV channels like Shimaru Marathi Bana and Shimaru TV. These are the two TV channels we have recently launched in the pandemic itself, right? So talking about like my business, okay, because we have dealt with this scenario, and there was no prior written book of guidelines wherein this kind of setup is there, and you need to do this kind of changes in your business. That was not there, right? So what has happened is the consumer has completely changed its behavior pattern during this COVID situation. uh, he is living differently, he is buying differently, he is thinking differently. That's the biggest challenge what is happening. So whatever we learn from Kotlas of the world are no more relevant, frankly speaking. So he looks at a brand with a different lens altogether. Okay, and talking about again my industry, it is changing real time. During this situation, it is changing real time. So what he is focusing right now focusing on is the basic needs, right? What is the basic needs? Uh, More focus is on hygiene, as you know, right? Uh, the consumer durables category has completely slowed down, right? But what we did differently to change this pattern is it was in distribution front. So what we did is, as you know, because every company has to focus on digital front because it's a lockdown. There was no movement at all in the stocks. In the month of April, we waited and watched what exactly we need to do. We brainstorm, management brainstorm, what exactly can be done to change this current scenario and how the sales can be generated. So we completely focus on developing relationship with the partners basically. So you talk about Vijay Sales, you talk about Reliance, you talk about Reliance Digital, you talk about Chromas of the world. So we targeted them and we started developing relations with them. As per this webinar, as the series what you're conducting, we are conducting horizons right now, and this is with different partners weekly basis. So it is basically discussion of Bhagavad Gita in your day to day activities. Nothing related to faith, but how can we involve Bhagavad Gita teachings in your day to day management activities as well as this kind of businesses.
It would be something
There was a complete shift.
now.
Yeah. So,
It's really interesting to hear this that how you are
yes.
the dynamics.
Yeah. So, I mean, it took time for customer also to understand the digital phase. Also, he was more prominent to go at the local mom and pop stores like buy local, which is the new tagline or hashtag which is going live right now. Buy local. So that was there. So what we did, because our products, as you can see at my background, they're all our products.
Right.
So this is all related to different faiths. So it's an experience product, right? It's an experience product, and there was no way where we can be able to connect with the consumers. So what we did is we uh, we made live demonstration kits on our portal, wherein a remote was made. and a customer would be able to go there, browse the product, see the look and feel digitally, like a 3D box. He can see the product. He would be able to change the narration wherever whatever he wants, because in Bhagavad Gita there are different life lessons we are put in it. So if you are in stress, what Bhagavad Gita suggests you. So there are different buttons. So this helped us a lot.
If
Okay.
you're very happy, my question is, if you're very happy, then there is a different thing that I should hear in Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
good.
so it helped us a lot, and we came up with different ideas during this pandemic. And due to thanks to digital age, you can say, or the because of isolation, more consumer is going towards the digital, taking advantage of the digital system basically. So it helped us during this pandemic,
Good,
right?
Varun. Nice to know
Yeah.
your view. Now let me take this same question, that how this consumer shift has happened when it comes to pay you. So my question goes to Shubham, that how things have changed for you in your industry.
Sure. So, when you said about the last 24 months, so digital payments in India began to boom much before the COVID era, be it pre or post, doesn't matter right now. Because during 2018 and 19, India saw a mammoth growth of around 380 to 400% in digital payments. So, when I say digital payments, it's all about QR also, and it's about online when you do shopping from any website in the world. In 2020, after the ease of the national lockdown, we saw an upsurge of 2.18 lakh crores in May, primarily because people were afraid to go to shops, to use cash, to have any kind of interaction at all. Usage of digital payments post-COVID is said to be highest in Indians across the world, with 75% Indians preferring it, according to a study by Capgemini, followed closely by China. But the third country was Italy, which was trailing at 19%. If we look at only UPI, for example, UPI is clocking about 1.5 billion transactions per month right now, which is, if you convert it into Indian currency and all, it's 5 crore digital transactions a day and close to 600 transactions every second. So the boom began before COVID, but COVID helped India go digital in a much more exponential way. From each and every mom and pop kirana store wanting to go cashless, it has helped the industry a lot. So there's only an uptick. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Shubham. I mean, this is really nice to know the different insight from two different, industry. Now, my question
Yeah.
is to Rajiv. Rajiv, how things have changed, from the consumer viewpoint. If you see how the consumer is behaving differently, if he is an offline customer, and does he behave differently when he's an online customer? Like with my students, I'll tell you, Rajiv, students behave very differently when they come online, and when you see them in face to face, it's a very different type of interaction. So I have seen it in my industry, so I just want to have your perspective in with FMCG overall sector.
Okay. So let me go back a little and then start the story. Is when the entire this digital thing has started, what has happened that a lot of people, and I read a lot of books where it was written that generally there will be a de-intermediation, means there is already a marketing channel through which the product flows. And these are all physical products. So this de-intermediation, like the brick and mortar, will gradually be done away with this digitization. But frankly speaking, nothing like this happened. And what actually happened is it was a re-intermediation. Means all these channels became one of the channels added to the channel which was already there. Now, obviously, what you asked is a different game altogether, because now a sales guy, particularly in consumer sector, consumer product sector, has to handle brick and mortar marketing channel and the virtual marketing channel. So it's a virtual marketplace versus a real marketplace. Now, consumers have become very demanding, and why this has happened is the consumers have become very demanding now, and they want convenience as per the situation they are in. So just if you want to correlate it, convenience and situation got married. So what happened when I am time pressed? or some other situation is there, I'll go to a kind of virtual shop and I'll shop there. But if I want to actually look and feel the product, I want to have fun, I want to go with my family in house or in a nearby shop also and enjoy there and then shop, then that is as per the situation, the convenience is there. So that is why this channel is a re-intermediation. So they have got another option. Now, how the consumers are behaving as of now, particularly in India, is if you will order for 20 rupees snacks or 10 rupees snacks on an online channel, nobody is going to deliver to your house. So first and the foremost is, and I know because I have been dealing with these guys, and they want a kind of ticket size which is very viable for them. So you have to order off late. You would have seen that they are also delivering milk, but that is very temporary in nature. That's only to recruit. But after recruiting, definitely this is not affordable for any of these online partners or digital partners or of the trade. So what ultimately what is going to happen is there would be a kind of ticket size which would be defined. And this ticket size could be 200 rupees, 500 rupees, 600 rupees as per the viability and all these things. So when you want to buy something, then obviously you have to buy at least 500 rupees worth of product, and then they'll deliver. And the consumer are looking for, when they are investing something like spending something like 500,000, 2,000, 3,000 rupees, so they are looking for deals. So because once you are there in a virtual or a digital channel, then you have got multiple options. So you keep hovering. When you go to a mall, you don't have multiple options because there are 3 shops, 4 shops, 5 shops, 10 shops, and not of the same segment now. So it is comparison also becomes a little difficult. But once you are there in online and buying grocery, then you can go to several online channels and then you can see and compare and buy. So deals becomes very, very important. Bulk buying becomes very important, and convenience obviously, because a lot of information is coming through you. So these are the same consumer once goes to a brick and mortar channel, they'll behave differently. But the same consumer, if they shop in a virtual channel, they'll completely behave differently. So the challenge for us as of now is how to handle the same consumer most probably, because then India is ABC. So obviously there are many people who have not still come to the virtual channel because they are not delivering 10 rupees worth of FMCG material. So they are completely isolated. So there is a different group of people who were there and who are already there, who might come to this journey. But there are a good set of consumers who want to experience both the things. And giving this experience, you should have a right product offering, a lot of things which I'll talk later on when you'll say. So these consumers are same, but they have a different expectation once they enter a virtual channel and once they enter a brick and mortar channel. So it is getting kind of very competitive for all of us.
Rajiv, this is really a very good insight that you have shared. The same customer buying 10 rupees packet behaves totally differently on 2 different platforms.
Correct.
And one very interesting thing, we are talking about de-intermediation, that number of levels should reduce. Yeah. But here we talk about, I would have never thought about it, that there is a re-intermediation happening.
Yeah.
So it's a very beautiful point that you have raised. It's a challenge that we are talking about, that how do we manage such a consumer behavior? So Satyendra, who has been a patient listener up till now I would like him to share his views, that how are you managing the changed consumer behavior? Consumer behavior has changed, as our other panelists are saying this. I would love to hear from you how they have changed and how you're managing it at your end.
Yes. So thank you for such a nice question, and I will take a clue from Varun, which he said, Bhagavad Gita in a digital format. This shows that we are living in a new world. We never thought that we will go and listen Bhagavad Gita in a digital format where you can choose a topic which is like bothering you at that point. So instead of just flipping around the entire pages of Bhagavad Gita, you can straight away go and select that topic and get your answer done. So that is the new world which we are living in, and we have to accept it. So which I see last 5-6 months how the overall industry have evolved. So I segment in 3 different category. One industry sector which has not at all got hit also because of this COVID, and those are like you can say FMCG, essentials, health and hygiene. Then there is one industry segment which initially got hit, but now in the recovery phase, like apparel and all, people have started buying, though in a small quantity. But and there is an industry segment which is still waiting for a recovery, which is like tourism, hotels and all, where the recovery is still looking distant. So all these industry segment are at a different stage, and they are trying to reinvent themselves as per the customer demand is coming. So customer is not coming out for a shopping, he is reluctant to go to the store. So now they are thinking, what should I do, how I can take my product directly to the customer place. And it can be through 2 different channels. It can be offline as well as online also. Online, definitely there is a surge in the demand. People are buying more online because they don't want to go outside. And lots of support is also in terms of digital payment. If you see, the transaction has gone up drastically, and people are now even buying a small ticket size also on the online platform. So that's why I can say now, the earlier it is all about retail sales is always talked about in terms of footfall, what is the footfall happening in the store. Now I say it is a finger fall, how the fingers are actually hitting that 5.5-inch screen where the people are buying it. Plus the companies are also rediscovering themselves. If the customer is not coming to my store, what should I do if I take my product directly to the customer place, and which is just like within 500 meter of his society or a house where he lives by, and he just come out and buy my product. And companies are doing this activation program. So earlier it is different channel activation which got done. Now it is one of the new word coming is RWA activation, which is resident welfare association activation program, where lots of companies are coming together and they are giving a platform to the customer, which you don't have to go to the nearest store. You can buy at your housing society itself. Secondly, large format store, still people are not coming out very frequently. A small kirana store which is just very close to their house, people are going and doing the shopping. So these kirana store also, they are also trying to encash this opportunity, and they are offering lots of other value adds in terms of home delivery, in terms of larger product portfolio, as well as they are using digital. So if you buy some item from your nearby store, they are getting it delivered through Denso and all. So they are using effectively technology to deliver the product at the customer place. So companies are rediscovering themselves. They are redefining the whole strategy of reaching out to the customer, and they are using technology as well as other innovative tool to really reach out to the customers.
Okay, that's really nice to hear that the technology is changing things around us. And Varun, I would now divert this topic bit towards Shubham, and I would like to hear from Shubham about PayU. How do you track consumer journeys? In short, the consumer sentiments are changing, consumers are changing, their behaviors are changing. But how do we track, such a journey of the customer? Then I will take the insight from Varun as well on the same question, because that's what I want to know, that how things are different with PayU and how things are different with Shemaroo.
Sure. So PayU is largely a B2B organization. So when I say B2B, we are a business which caters to other businesses. So end user behavior is tracked because of COVID, and earlier also because the business was booming. We were invested heavily in data mining and machine learning. So we help the businesses who consume our services to study the behavior of the end users. How many new users are coming onto the platform? Which day of the week do people aged between 15 to 25 come more often than not on the platform? Which time do they come? So that is the kind of behavior we help our merchants track. We per se don't track that. For us, our consumers are other businesses. So that is somewhat of a different field for us. So we don't do that, but we help others do that. And obviously that is another service which we provide the consumer behavior. So that is another matrix for us which we provide as a
There are a
service.
lot of metrics, I must say this.
Yes. So we don't track the consumer behavior. We track our business behavior. How our verticals, so we love to call it verticals. So how e-commerce as a verticals is performing, what is changing behavior there, how FMCG as a vertical is being defined by online payments. So it is a very niche field which does not partake in the
Very
consumer.
nice. It's a nice perspective to see that the business behavior, how are we behaving and how is our business behaving in different sectors with different categories.
Yeah. So that
Okay.
is what we try.
So let me take this to Varun. Varun and Rajiv, I would like your opinion as well on the similar topic because this is the most important thing for all our participants sitting here. How they are behaving and how do we track their journey? Yeah.
See, there are a
So
lot of
let's start.
CRM tools which we have already implemented in order to track customers. I will give an example. What happened recently with Shemaru OTT. We recently launched an OTT app called Shemaru Me. So looking at the content and what is running right now, all the OTT platforms were out of content in the month of April, May, right? So what we differently did, what we did is we launched Premiere Friday. So every Friday we used to release a new movie, wherein we used to keep a small subscription amount for that particular movie. So if a customer does not want to download and complete app, or he just do not want the annual subscription or 3 month subscription, he can download Shemarumi, and if he like that movie, he can go and watch that movie. So it's an innovative way wherein we, whatever data we had through the mining application, as Shubham said, every organization has it, and we also have it. So through that, this idea came up, and we launched it. So the results were good. So in order to track, there are a lot of metrics. Every organization implements it, and we track on every weekly, or we have a discussion with management. We also have calling sessions for the customers also. What did he like about the product? uh, you know it's all a complete process altogether. So yeah, we do that.
So with Shubham and with Varun, what is happening is there are digital footprints left behind by the customer. So it's easy for you to track
Yes,
through
it
data
is easy to
mining.
track them, right?
It will be very
Yes.
interesting to hear from Rajiv when there are no digital footprints. Yeah, how do we track? How do we understand, Rajiv? Rajiv, you have to unmute yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. So generally, as I have said, that because this now this is a new channel which has emerged, and it's an omni-channel world now for us. Now in this channel, the consumer behavior is different. Which I had talked that people are mostly looking for a lot of deals in the online channels. They want to interact there with the product. They want to try the new products. So a lot of things are there which are there in the online channel. Because there actually we can find out that how many people have visited our products and how many people, what is the bounce rate? Means people have purchased, not purchased, how many clicks our products have got, but how many have actually got converted. So actually a broad data like this is available, and now then we can actually know that people are preferring what and what they are not preferring, because they are looking in online, they are looking for something extra. So if our something extra is working, then the clicks versus conversion is higher. If something extra is not working, then the clicks versus conversion is lower. So we have to be very prompt in this. And let me tell you this, now the dynasty is so huge that even now I'm talking with you and I'm getting messages I can see here from that this product is not working, sir. So now I have to change something there so that I get conversions on clicks. So, and each click also has got some rupee involved there. So there are a lot of things happening. So consumer journey is now being tracked not by age profile and all as of now, but the people who have come by listening the name of our brand Cracks, because children are the primary consumers of ours, and then obviously adults are also there. But are they buying it? So sometimes some promotion has to be run. So we have to keep in now the thing is I have to keep my consumers involved here in different type of extra thing that demand apart from the convenience that the channel has given. But apart from that, in brick and mortar, because my product generally is a kind of impulse product. So how can I be relevant and be, because nowadays what has happened that every shopkeeper is talking a lot of stocks, nearby ones. So obviously then visibility is a kind of question mark. But still I have to be relevant to my consumer, and since my product is an impulse product, I have to be there. So again, we have introduced a lot of visibility tools, wherein even if my product is not there on hanger or shelf, there is something which can actually remind him of that product. So in this journey, and now consumer journey, I have to be completely relevant in both the channels, and the dynamicity has increased multifold.
Okay, it's a good take on the overall behavior side of the customer. Now, let me take this to the next level and let us talk about digital organization. You know, when a company who has always practiced the functional level structure or the divisional level structure, geographical structure, now what kind of structure are we looking at when it comes to when the company is shifting itself from a regular company to the digital organization? Now, what are the hurdles that we have to face as sales leader in an organization that is planning to go digital? And to answer this, I will ask Satyendra from Renset to share some views on these important challenges that the company will face. You know, that where we talk about the virtual organization, where there are only dotted lines between the person and actually no hierarchy actually functions. That your work is more important. So I would like to know, how do we face, and what are the various ways to find the solution to such challenges?
Yes. So, as we are living in this new world where we are connected virtually, and always there is always a fun when we are in office, we meet each other, we discuss, and lots of meeting happen in the closed room, and lots of strategy get discussed. But now we are in this virtual world where this is not possible. So, first of all, I believe 3R. 3R is very important for any individual to live in this digital world. Is like how we should respond to this new world, and then how we can recover from this new situation which we are in, and we have to reimagine. So these 3R is very important: respond, recover, and reimagine. So when it comes to reimagine, this like communication becomes very important. And I strongly believe, as a sales leader, we should more frequently communicate with our team members. And if not, we should over communicate also. That is also required. We should really check with them, we should engage with them, that how they are doing it, because they are also going through lots of changes. They are not used to be living in this world where they have to do digital sales, digital client meeting. Earlier it is like going in the market, doing those physical meeting with the customer and understanding him well. But now in this digital world, it is becoming difficult. So it is very important that we should very frequently communicate with them, engage with them. As an organization, Randstad, what some of the initiative we have taken, we have introduced lots of training programs for them, like how to handle or ensure your digital presence felt well in front of the customer, how you can use these social media platform, LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram, for doing an effective sales or effectively connecting with the customer. So this is very important. And plus, we are also have to ensure their well-being. So we have introduced one theme which is known as be kind to your mind. We have to ensure that the sales team should not be stressed out too much, so that they can really do better sales in the digital world. So we lots of initiative we take. It is like virtual lunch, a coffee with a CEO, where some of the top performer get a chance to have a half an hour discussion with the CEO of the company, and virtual lunch with the team, or sometime a breakout session virtually. So we use all these technology to engage the sales team well and keep them motivated.
Yeah, we should have planned a lunch session today.
Yes.
Yeah, that would have been helpful for all of us.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful insight once again, Satyendra, from you. And now I would take this to Varun. Varun, I would like to know that these sales organizations are being recreated, as Varun said, and you have to communicate. Communication is the key here. Right now, my question to you is, how closely sales leaders should work with technology counterparts? Should they consider it as, okay, one more technology department, let them handle it. I will not get involved in this. or should they actually work very closely with them? Yeah, so that's my question to you, because Shimaru is planning a lot of changes here.
Yeah.
Movies on Friday, you have promoted a lot of products now. Yeah,
Yes.
so even the cracks biscuit in that case from Rajiv. Yeah, so good to hear that your brands are really doing good, and this whole dynamic environment which is changing every single day is bringing us a new set of opportunities. Yeah, Varun, over to you.
Yeah, as Mr. Rajiv said, you should be aware of what is your CPS. You go on investing a lot of online front, but applying all the metrics together. But end of the day, the complete money can be gone in drain, right? So it is very important as a sales leader, you have a tracking mechanism wherein you closely work with the digital team. And Shemaru being a digital company, I mean, it's more into the digital content. We always work closely with the technology teams. What happens is, just again, what I'm quoting is what happened through the pandemic. What we did is we launched a retailer app, okay, wherein it the customer journey can be tracked, wherein the retailer has to scan a barcode of the product. It get digitally stored in our cloud, and we get customer numbers. Again, we can do a calling, pushing notifications to them. So that was there. Secondly, retailer do not want to keep stocks, right? So what we did, we launched an app wherein did a listing of all the products in the app, and he can directly put a customer number, and the stocks will be delivered to the customer end. We tied up with ZipPay. We tied up with various vendors. We are in talks with Udaan now. We'll be live on Udaan soon. So this is what different technology advantages we are taking. Also, looking at the cost. So the cost is the most important factor during this time. With minimal investment, you get maximum returns. That is the underlying statement what I can give. But I would like to quote one thing is, whatever technology comes in, there is always a human touch which is necessary. So whatever companies do, there should be a human touch involved in it. Unless and until that is not there, there's all consumer behavior or pattern does not work at all.
Humans are definitely giving a touch to the digital world, but
Yeah.
digital also requires a human touch. That's a very interesting insight, Varun. Yeah, I would take this question to Rajiv and then to Shubham post that. My question to Rajiv is, Rajiv, when we talk about digital agendas and priorities, was this a priority even before COVID, or all of a sudden we have realized now there is no other option and that's why we are doing it? Or was it always a priority? Was it always a thought process? So is it a digital an agenda and priority for the organization? And there is one participant, Abhishek Singh. He has asked a similar question. Will the organization move back again to the regular thing which was happening post-pandemic, pre-pandemic? I mean, we will forget all these things and again, let us go back to the normal life. So, Rajiv, your take on this.
Yeah. So digital already was before pre-COVID was also a kind of priority for us. But what happened in the COVID era because of this lockdown and all, obviously the sales shot up there, and a lot of sales that they started doing in digital. So then it becomes further more priority. Actually, if you see the entire landscape, not only speaking from the perspective of this digital thing, what has happened in the FMCG industry is the rural sales has gone up. And the digital sale has gone up. So rural and digital sales is taking care of the urban one because of lockdown, because now consumers are not going to malls and all, so they're afraid of going. So that sale has got converted to digital sales in urban and rural sales, because the pandemic earlier was not there in rural penetrated. So the sales was happening there. So digital, because of there is a kind of shift in sales from the brick and mortar in urban because of this COVID to digital. So there is a good growth there. But when there is a good growth, obviously there are a lot of companies, they start chasing this online thing and digital thing. So the competition here has become very intense now. So that is the way, and it's not going to change. I believe, see, there will be a kind of, again, an equilibrium that will happen after some time when this COVID will completely vanish from this world. But obviously there'll be a kind of pie which will always remain with digital, because a lot of people, digital was trying to kind of, people were not testing it earlier. So there a lot of motivation was given by the digital companies to make them buy. But it happened because of this lockdown. So now people have experience, and who have actually tasted it and who have actually found it good will not switch. So they will be, they definitely they'll stick to that. And a new equilibrium is going to come between the brick and mortar and the digital. But in FMCG, generally digital was not very big. You know, it was broadly, I don't want to give a number because it become so, but not very big. Below 10% gains was the kind of number it was. So now, when it has started increasing now, then there will be a new equilibrium which will be much higher than the pre-COVID. So this is what it will settle down to. This is what I feel that this will settle down to. But digital will remain important. It has become very competitive. So now there will be a lot of offerings. More will be poured into the consumers. Consumers will be the ultimate beneficiary in the post-COVID world for at least a year and a half.
Okay, good to know this, that yes, it was always a part of the agenda, but the agenda got shifted after post-COVID. We made it a priority, and we increased the speed in which we were moving.
Yeah.
So that has definitely happened with most of the companies. Shubham, my question to you is, what are the key metrics, that you use for your analysis? Because many of the students there, they just don't want to know about sales management, but they also want to know about sales analytics, where they find a big future. Yeah. So what are the key metrics?
Okay, so that's a good question. In this sense, there is no clear answer to it. So there are too many matrices nowadays. That is why companies are investing heavily in data mining and machine learning and AI. So earlier it was easy. Sales should grow. Every sales guy has a target. It's month on month increasing, and that is the way of life. But now that is bound to happen in digital sales. So because there is definitely a boom, there was a boom since the last 2 years, and it is an exponential growth in sales nowadays in digital companies, especially fintech companies, and that in fintech is also a broad term nowadays. So when I talk about online payment gateway industries or payments, there is a massive boom. We track product penetration with our existing customers. We track first-time users. We track first-time credit card users on each and every merchant platform. And we are learning because the medium itself is evolving. So we need to evolve with it. There is not one matrix. There are more than 622 for the last count in the company that what we are driving and targeting and analyzing. So that's it. So we have to evolve and learn with the consumer behavior. And like everybody else is pointing out, in the offline world, the digital, forget about the urban world, even the rural, people are converting to digital, but it's less than 10%. It's hardly anything. So we also want to learn, and we are also going the omni-channel way. But there's a long way to go. Cash is still king.
So it's still in the nascent stage, you mean to say?
Very nascent.
Okay, very nice. Nice to hear from you. Very practical and telling me, okay, this is only 10%, and when we can just imagine what would be 100% in that case.
Sure.
So my next question, these days everyone is talking about secret to success, secret to make money. So is there some secret that we are talking about in digital sales? And can we have some kind of a secret that you have planned out, that you tell your team members that this is the secret to online digital sales? And to answer this question, I would like Satyendra to share his view. What is the secret qualities that are required in a salesperson? Or what are the qualities that he should have so that he becomes more successful in the years to come?
Yes, and everyone is looking out for that secret now. So one thing which we always tell our sales leaders actually, so when you connect in terms of when you do a physical meeting with a customer, you get a time to explain yourself. But when you first connect through different medium, it is a LinkedIn or it is a phone call, you get a very limited time to impress or make that customer interested in your product offering. So we call as an elevator pitch, and we say that within 1 minute, if you are not able to explain, that means you have to be laser sharp and focus. And if you're not able to explain yourself within 1 minute of that time, then might be that customer will lose interest. So we keep focusing on that, and that we say that the elevator pitch should be very laser sharp. And whenever you connect either any of the medium that customer shows an interest in your offering, then you have to further make it more digital connect and bring him on the platform where we can have a more fruitful discussion. So it is all about understanding, first of all, reading lots of insight about the customer and industry, so that when you first time connect with him on the any platform, you are really able to talk which is like made him interest in your offering, and you understand his pain point or where the customer is struggling, and what are the solutions you can help the customer so that it can help him to understand or tackle his business. So these are the few things which we really take it to our sales leader. You have to be really very focused, you have to be laser sharp, and you have to really explain them yourself within very less of time.
Okay, I take your point. You have to be focused, sharp. Assume that I apply in your company and you are taking my interview,
Yeah.
right? So how will you judge these qualities? I mean, what is the way to find out, or what qualities that I should have in order to get into your organization and understand and handle the digital sales of your company?
So so it's a good one. So I believe lots of students must be interesting in there, and they will
Yes, yes.
want to know the secret behind this. So when we hire anyone in today's world, is first of all we see that whether it's a digital connect event, but how the professionally person has dressed up, whether it's really coming across, because though it's a digital connect, but it is a very formal meeting, so person has to be formally dressed up, and how he coming across. Secondly, what of he must have an agility. This is one of the things which we are looking in person right now, that he has to be that agility, and he really able to find out the way, like to a problem solving mindset, rather than really getting hooked upon the things or the difficult time work. He should have that type of solution oriented mindset, that he come up with the solution for each problem and try to find out a way out from that. Secondly, uh, it is like I can say not too much stress out, a lively person who can make his presence felt and able to engage well with the team as well as the customer. So these are the some quality which, and agility is the one of the key thing which we look in any of the candidate.
As far as formal clothing is concerned, I can be selected.
Yes, yes, very much. Yes, he
So
rightly said.
thank you. Thank you. It is really nice that the agility, when we talk about agility, I mean, this is the world, the qualities that was needed in me when I came into teaching, it was very different.
Yeah.
Now I need a different set of learning, different set of qualities to deal in this VUCA environment. Now, to answer this question, we talk about agility. How do you build an agile digital sales force? Should we remove all those who are not adhering to my digital agenda, or should I train them, or how do I build? How should I create my team? To answer this question, I will ask Rajiv to share his view that how do we build such a team? Rajiv, you have to unmute yourself.
I'll do that.
Yes.
So the first thing, generally, what we see while appointing people in our sales force who will handle the digital marketplace is he has to be very responsive. Means because the actions and reactions are very fast here, and you can see that maybe in a brick and mortar, once you have placed the product, then it takes 1-2 days for you to get the information, selling, not selling. A lot of things are there, but here on an hourly basis, you can have this information that what has sold, which is working, what is not working. So the person has to be very reactive, very responsive. First thing, so agility obviously is the first thing. The second thing is he has to be very analytical and tech savvy, because there's a lot of data crunching which is there, that how many people are visiting this page, how many people are new, have first time visited this place. All this data comes in a raw form, and then you have to actually create some insight out of this data, because there's a lot of observation you can have from this data, that this has happened, there are 10 things which has happened in the last 10 days. But what is the insight? We can't do everything. So what is the needle swinger insight? So that guy has to be very tech analytical in nature, and in sync with the company, he has to find the needle swinger action that we have to do. So this is one of the qualities that we actually look at. And the another is negotiation skills, because once earlier your sales was segregated between too many people, too many brick and mortar shops. But here, when you are dealing with the online partner who is already a big player, then obviously they'll try to squeeze you left, right, and center. You have to be, you have to have an amazing negotiating skills, and then only you can survive, because you also this is a kind of partnership. Gradually, what is going to happen when these online things in FMCG is going to go big, then there'll be an era, there'll be no manufacturer and online retailer, but there'll be both will be a partner sharing profits, kind of thing which I envisage after some time, when this 10% goes to 60% or something like this. Then this skill of negotiation will be the most important and tricky one. So these are few things which we primarily we look at when we recruit people for our digital thing.
Okay, good to know this, that the negotiation skill is one of the most important skills, though it's a very old skill that we talk about, but then it has always stayed relevant whenever we talk about it. Now, taking this forward, I would like Shubham, who started with the conversation. He said we have 600 metrics, more than 600 metrics that we can talk about, and various ways which we can analyze things. Now, my question to you is, what are the key tools, Shubham, that are used to enable the sales force to become equipped to manage a digital consumer? Because they say, measure what matters, don't measure everything. Yeah. So what are the tools that are being used, Shubham?
Oh, I'll be more than surprised if anybody in my sales team knows that there are 600 metrics being measured at the back end. So it's not for them to do. See, enabling the sales force is a pretty broad statement. It requires everything from automation to connecting individually with each resource as a human being. So any organization with deep pockets, which cares about automation, which cares about growth, can afford CRM tools, can afford Salesforce, they can get it all on board. But since I'm from an industry which is more B2B driven, and it is not every day that we need to have an individual target, I'm fortunate enough to treat my sales team like human beings. I think empathy is what counts nowadays, which people forget. And some of them don't have the liberty to do it because there's a daily sales happening. But more often than not, we forget that every sales guy is not a number on the Excel sheet. It's a human being at the end of the day. And the joys that we used to get when we used to meet them in office after a tough day, going out for drinks, after a tough meeting, just a cup of tea, that is not going to happen anytime soon. We are all working from home. And the earlier corporate gyan of that we are one big family, that is just a gyan nowadays, until unless you can actually connect with them. So what I do with my sales team, and we do it pretty often nowadays, that we come together as a family in front of a screen, introduce who is there in the family, who's stuck with whom. Because frankly, I'm stuck with my wife. I have never thought that I would be with her 24/7. So it's amazing. It's a love marriage, everything good, but I'm stuck. And I'm sure everybody else is too. So we need to understand emotions. We need to understand what the other person is going through and then enable them. Then first understand that it's a human being you're dealing with. Then understand their issues and then enable them. Hey, what do you need to do this? See, customization and all in B2B is always there because every merchant is a multi-million-dollar deal. So you need to customize everything. And now the customer's expectations are also that, hey, you're working from home. Why don't you customize more for us? So that is not going to change. What is going to change is treat your people better. They are the ones who are the face of the company. They are the ones who want to sell your stuff and make the company grow.
Yeah, I mean, that's really nice
That is
to hear from you, Shubham. When you say that you are stuck and you say it in a recorded session, I think you have you're a brave person. Yeah, I cannot say this on record. Yeah, but off the meet after the session, we can talk about it. Yeah, so but very one beautiful thing about Shubham is you get a lot of emotions in every dealing of your team. Now that's very important in such a time where people are stressful, people are worried about their jobs. These small effort from our side, where Satyendra said a team lunch together over the Zoom. Yeah, I mean, these are small things which brings a lot of motivation to the people out there. And this is really nice to hear from you. Varun, can I have your take on this? What is your company doing? What are the tools? I mean, he said, don't measure people with numbers. Yeah, let us
Yes, that's a
reveal.
true fact. You cannot imagine just number. It's a number game. It's always an emotion which connects with the team, right? When you have such a big team in the market who is striving every day, day in, day out, and if you don't, motivate them, there won't be anyone standing in the market. That's for sure, right? So there are always what we do is we do kicks and connections every month to motivate this whosoever birthday is there. We conduct a lot of contests. We also have done a lot of changes in the HR policies, wherein if someone suffers from COVID, what should be done? What is the benefit he will get from the company? Also, a lot of innovative ideas are coming from HR in terms of how to engage an employee. Because as Shubham said, it is very difficult to meet them, because it's very important in sales wherein you may meet people face to face. But now it is not possible, right? So we do a lot of coffee sessions on after 7 o'clock. On the recorded line, it's a coffee session only. So that is there. We do also understand a lot of problems. We try to give solutions to the team, what they can do, what the challenges they are facing, what we can help them out. And this during these difficult times, it's very important as a leader, you support team mentally, because if this team stands for you during this difficult phase, they will be with you after this phase for sure, right? So it's very important you stand mentally with them, and try out to get different solutions. What the problem, because they are facing it in day-to-day activities. Right now my team is working in market, right? So they are facing problems, but end of the day I make sure that these problems are resolved day in day out way, right? So that's what we take care of. That's our managers for.
That's really nice that your post 7 p.m. coffee and only coffee is a really good session breakout that you have. Now we have a lot of questions coming from our participants. They have been waiting eagerly for you all to answer. I will read out the question. You can just put a hand raise and I will give you the opportunity to talk about it. Yeah. And so we have Nishan who says, good evening, all the panelists. Thanks for holding this discussion. My question is, what new futuristic trends will unfold post-COVID world? Yeah, who would like to go ahead? That's the end of the question. What is the new futuristic trend? Yeah, Satyendra would like to go ahead.
What is the new futuristic trend?
Yeah, which will unfold post-COVID world. So after the COVID is over, what are the futuristic trends that you see?
Yeah, so see, generally, sorry, if you want to speak.
No, please.
Yeah, we all can now, interact.
Yeah, see, generally, post-COVID, a new equilibrium is going to come between between what we talked as of now, digital, non-digital. So obviously, a new equilibrium is going to come, which we is going to see. So what is nowadays skewed towards digital? Maybe there'll be some again, brick and mortar will also take the piece away a little. But a lot of people will go digital. A lot of people have tried online. They're going to stick to it. And a lot of meetings now. Now we are trying to use our office space now. We actually now I feel that we don't need. I have got so many people working under me who are reporting it to me as an MIS guy, and they are not required. Earlier, somebody would have told me that they're not coming to the office. I would have not believed it, and I have not really even discussed this matter. But now I feel that they're not at all required. So everything they're doing, whatever I am asking in the morning, they are giving it to me in the time interval that I want. So these 5 places actually are not required now. So office, obviously, these people need not come to the office. Now we have a lot of people were having desktops. Now they are using laptops and palm tops, and they're using it well from their home. So this will also continue to happen. So the online, for maybe if it's work, online doctors' advices, it's working as of now. So why should I go? So then it will take a place of convenience versus what do you want? If you don't want to go, take an advice online by the doctor and take medicine and you want to recover, it's fine, you can do so. So there are a lot of convenience versus, because this compulsion of COVID has asked the consumers to taste a lot of variety of things out of compulsion. But that whatever you will like, you will take it and you will carry on with that.
So based on the individual requirements,
Yeah.
you will be changing your way. Now, my next question is from Aditi. She is asking a very interesting question that many small businesses don't fully know who their target audience is. This is where different types of buyers persona comes in handy. So how should a small business should track this? Different types of buyer and their behavior, because they don't have so much of resource to do it. But if I have started just build my business at a very small scale, how do I track this? Yeah.
So I'll take that.
Yeah, or yeah,
Yeah.
Shubham. Yes, Shubham.
So, because from a digital payments background, what we do, we have started educating all small, we like to call it micro SMEs or SMEs, that they should come to our website. We have educational videos where they can build their own website, where they can start accepting payments digitally, and we tell them how to market, and we give them some marketing resources free of cost. Resources are not human beings, some tools, so that they can do it, and we tell them how and where they should market, and then we direct them towards the right source, that how search engine optimization can be done, whether they want to do it online, whether they want to do some offline marketing. So enough and more tools are available online for small time customers through the government, through private players, through private and government partnerships to do this, because our government is also pushing it in a big way, and so are we. So that is already happening.
Okay, so I will take the last question from one of our participants, Nikhil. He said, as the digital transformation is happening in the world, what are the thoughts? What are your thoughts on cyber security? Is my login gonna remain same? Is my safe? Is my password that I have shared with a local site? Are they gonna be using all their resources on safeguarding my interest, or will it be available with everyone in future? So that's the question. Anyone would like to?
Sure, I'll take that. So, because I was part of MasterCard earlier, MasterCard, Visa, and now RuPay and other card networks in different countries actually spend millions of dollars and millions of man hours to protect people from online frauds. But we need to understand the thief is as smart as the person who's building the system. So it is continuously evolving. We need to be wary and smart enough when we use any kind of online payment tool. If you know the basics of what not to do, never to share your passwords, never to have your card number visible, then the chances of fraud reduce by more than 90%. But 10% fraud is still going to happen. But that is on a massive scale. It is not usually pertaining to
is there a team in your company which manages fraud analytics?
Oh, we have a massive system which does that. Yeah. So we have a fraud management tool. We have fraud and chargeback teams. So there's a different unit altogether which caters just to that.
Okay. Thank you,
So
Shubham.
just to add what Shubham said, if I talk about from Randstad, because being an HR, when we deal with the database of people, it becomes very critical. And we put almost 8 lakh people daily to work in the world. And in India, at least 60,000 people goes to work through Randstad. So there is a very strong backup IT team is there who ensures that all these database which is lies in my systems that cannot be accessed by any third party, and we ensures that. So there is lots of IT security tools which we have implemented, and we ensure that these employees database which is there with us, because these people work in different companies and they have different wage bills also, so that not goes outside or it not get access by any other person beyond Randstad. So that type of tools which we used.
Okay, that's really nice to hear from all of you all. I think we have crossed our time limit, but I think all the panelists were really good in terms of sharing their experience. Whether it was Satyendra who spoke about the various thing that is happening at Randstad and how they are keeping the data, the people's data safe. Also, then we heard from Varun, who has really added a lot of insights related to how Bhagavad Gita is now being linked to the listener. There's a very different category of people who would be listening to this. Definitely a large audience is listening, but then when I click on this, if I'm being said, I can click on a particular thing and I can hear that. And going forward to Shubham, who added the human touch to the overall discussion in terms of, don't treat people with numbers and, make it more open to your, organization. Also, the safety measure that he covered was really nice to hear. Rajiv has been very, he has been into the market and he has seen how the FMCG industry works. And whether, the very interesting thing that I learned from you, Rajiv, is the, intermediation part, where we say that, how I was just thinking that the mediators are going down. You say, no, we have increased as well at places. So I think it was really an insightful session from all of you all. I must thank all of you all for coming to this session and sharing with all our participants about various things that is going to happen in the future. In fact, most of them would be looking for your email ID, would be sending you request on your LinkedIn, so that if there are any opportunities. Randstad has openly said that we are placing 50,000. So why not add one more member? So you will get a lot of requests now. So thank you so much for coming on to the panel, for being the panel member and sharing your thoughts, giving us some time from your really busy schedule. I can really understand with work from home, the timings have gone become very different for all of us. Different company, different ways of working. But the thing is, I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate your views. For me personally, as a moderator, I really learned so much from all of you all. Definitely, then there will be learning for all my participants as well. So thank you so much, everyone. So on that note, we will meet again with another knowledge series. If you're typing, if you're trending, then please use the hashtag knowledge series. That's very important, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
so much.
everyone.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.